This is Andy Purewal of Boxing Social in association with Betfred. We're in London and I'm joined by Joe Cordina. Joe, firstly, how are you doing?
Yeah, I'm not too bad, my man. Not too bad. Just getting in the mindset of fight week now. But obviously, I still got a little bit of graft to do.
Yeah, Joe, you were obviously about a week and a half or so out from your first crack at World Honours. How have you felt in this camp? Has it felt any different knowing that you're about to challenge for your first world title? Do you feel different in camp?
No, I don't feel different in my mindset and what I'm doing because I try and hit every training camp the same. Try and give it everything. But the training's been a lot harder. It's been a lot more intense. Tony's pushed me to my limits, and yeah, I'm feeling good. I'm feeling fit. I'm feeling strong. So yeah, that's what we get in camp for, to sort of prepare ourselves for a hard 12 rounds if need be. But yeah, it didn't feel no difference mentally, but physically, yeah.
How have you found trying to prepare for Kenichi Ogawa, that IBF title holder who you challenge next week, Joe, in terms of trying to get sparring in? Has it been easy, difficult to try and find someone to mimic what Kenichi will bring?
No, because it's not about what he does, obviously, because he could come out. We could watch a million tapes of him, and he could come out and do something completely different on the night. So we've got some people that are similar to him. Some people are completely different. So we just mix it up. We've prepared everything, and it's not about what he does. It's about what I do. So I think how the fight will go will determine and depend on what I do, and how I came out. So yeah, we've had some great sparring. Robbie Davis, big, strong. Adam Azine, big and strong, very sharp. Alfie, big and strong. And we've had Baluta in. He's very, very good, very fit. Punches in bunches. And you've seen he had a good win over Brad Foster over the weekend. And we've had a couple of other fighters in. So I've prepared well. I've had great sparring and I felt good. So yeah. And Shiloh, obviously he had a good win on the weekend, so I've had Shiloh in as well, who's very sharp. So yeah, I've prepared well.
Obviously some interesting names there you've been able to pull into camp to help you prepare, Joe, but going into Saturday now, how are you actually anticipating the fight playing out? If you're not so much looking at how Kenichi will approach the fight, how are you looking to approach it?
How I approach everything, go out and dictate, be first to the punch, and listen to what Tony tells me to do. Sometimes in sparring I sort of neglect certain things that he's telling me, but on fight nights I switch on, and that's when I do everything he says. And if I come and I have a round which I don't do it, he'll come and tell me in the next round I'll be doing it. So I'll go out and be first to everything and dictate and do it exactly what Tony tells me to do.
I've obviously spoken to the rest of the guys in the gym who were in earlier before yourself, Joe, and they've mentioned the Fuzile fight, and they've all said they've watched it. When Kenichi beat Fuzile, that is. How much of that fight have you studied?
To be honest, not much. He's a southpaw. He sort of gives away the ground, holds his feet a lot, and it's only when he gets hit he'll start to move. And with Kenichi's big right hand, which he relies on quite a lot, he's wide open for it. Someone that holds his feet as a southpaw, you're asking to get hit with a backhand. So yeah, I haven't really looked too much into that, but I have looked at little clips of the fight, and Tony have sent me little bits of the fight and other fights also. And yeah, don't get me wrong, he's a good fighter, Fuzili, but he's not me. And when he boxed Martin Wood, I think Martin was a shadow of his own old self. He had a bad injury going into that fight, and I just don't think he recovered very well in the last 3 weeks of camp, and his knee showed that he wasn't recovered in that fight. So yeah, I just took little bits from what Tony has sent me and what I've seen of him, and yeah, we just put our game plan together.
It's obviously taking place in Cardiff as well, your hometown, Joe. How much of an impact do you feel that could have on fight night? If it does come to a scenario where you have to dig deep a little, you have to kind of put your feet into the ground and grit your teeth, how big do you think it will be to have that home support behind you?
Yeah, I think I probably will have to dig deep. He's a big, strong guy, and I think I will have to. So yeah, it might play a part, it might not. But I think the crowd, he's not going to experience something like that. I think I got around about 250 ringside tickets that I've sold myself. So, and they're not the quietest of people. They're quite intimidating. Some of them. Don't get me wrong, they can't fight for me. But when 250 Welsh fans, not fans, my mates are shouting. They won't shout abuse, but they'll be shouting for me, and it's going to be intimidating for him. And then obviously you got the rest of the crowd there also. A majority is going to be Welsh, so yeah, he's not going to experience something like that. I don't think he's boxed in a country where the whole crowd's against him. He boxed in America, yeah, but he was on neutral grounds for both. So, and then I think the rest of his fights was in Asia. So yeah, it's going to be a new experience for him anyway.
Joe, I know people look at Welsh boxing for a while now and have thought who's going to be the next one to kind of be the star for it, to be the man who everybody looks up to, or woman who everybody looks up to, since Joe Calzaghe obviously retired. If you win next Saturday night, do you believe you become that man that can kind of be the leading light for Welsh boxing and the one who everybody looks up to, and we could start to see more fighters coming through who can look to emulate what you could do? Like people will look at it that way, but I don't want to look at it that way. I just want to be a world champion. I'm from Wales, so I want to be a world champion. I want to give kids and young fighters an opportunity to fight on shows, big shows, which I've managed to do. I got Monique Bucks, who's a childhood friend of mine, and she's on the show, so I'm happy for that. I got two boys, Ben Crocker and Kieran Jones, who's also on the show, who I train alongside when I'm home. So they got a chance to fight on that show also. So it's a big night for them. They're used to small hall shows, and it's Monique's debut to fight on a world title card. So yeah, it's nice, and I've said it, I want to bring big nights boxing back to Wales, and I think this is going to be the start of it. I know you don't want to look too far into the future, Joe, but obviously you've got a certain Shakur Stevenson who holds two of those titles in your division. I've asked you about it previously before this Ogawa fight was announced. Is this something you thought about potentially down the line yourself and him sharing a ring in a unified or potentially undisputed bout if you could clear up that WBA title situation as well?
Yeah, of course. You always visualise yourself fighting certain fighters, and he got the WBC and the WBO. So if I was to win, I'd love to unify, but I got to win on Saturday. So yeah, and he did say in an interview that he'd happy to come over to the UK and fight me, and he's obviously, I'm not going to say he's not very good, this, that and the other, like a lot of people do. I'm a fan of him, and he's a great fighter, but I back myself with anyone. But yeah, I'd love to share the ring with him and unify potentially.
What did go through your mind when you heard Shakur say that he would come over and face you if you did hold a title?
It just gives me a little bit more of a push to win this fight. And it's, how can I say, it's a little bit of a buzz, because to hear someone like him, don't get me wrong, we was in the amateurs together. Like he said, we don't really speak back and forth. I always like his stuff on socials because, like I said, I'm a fan of his also because I'm a boxing fan first and foremost. But it's just one of them things now where it's also very close, and potentially this fight could be a big step for me to, how can I say, to announce myself on a big stage, which that's what we'll do, because the likes of Shakur and Roger Gutierrez, who've got the other belts, will want to face me because I love the IBF. So yeah, it's nice to hear what Shakur said, and he believes I'm the best fighter in the UK at 130. So yeah, when I win, then we can talk. But until then, I got a job to do.
Joe, just want to get your thoughts on a few of the other guys in the gym before I let you crack on with your training session. I spoke to kind of Ben earlier, a lot of talk as to what his next step will be. Keith Thurman's the man at the top of the list, it seems. Just your thoughts if Conor and Keith were to share the ring, and how much you would back and fancy Conor in that fight.
Yeah, he's young, he's hungry, and he's always willing to take on challenges. Don't get me wrong, his previous fighters ain't no Keith Thurman, but I do back him. Keith Thurman's getting on now, he's coming towards the back end of his career. Conor's only just started, and I think the momentum Conor got, I think it's a dangerous fight for both, but I do genuinely back Conor. He's learning all the time, he's progressing every fight, and he just keeps building and building and building. He's always willing to learn, which is great, and he trains very, very hard in the gym. So yeah, if that fight was to happen, I'll be backing Conor all day.
And also you've got the John Ryder being kind of mentioned for Billy Joe Saunders recently. Just your thoughts if we was to see a rematch so many years down the line between the pair of them?
Yeah, well, when they had a fight years ago, it was quite a close fight. And don't get me wrong, they both progressed since. John have had some bad luck, but he's had some good luck also. And he deserves a big fight. And you got Billy Joe to come off Canelo loss, which is no shame in that. Canelo's unbelievable. But if it's going to happen, it has to happen now before Billy Joe goes beyond his best. So then obviously the winner of that can fight a potential Bivol or whoever, even if it's Bivol or anyone at the super middles. Yeah, it'd be nice for John to get that fight.
And final one, one more after that, sorry, but Joshua Buatsi defeated Craig Richards this past weekend. Obviously, Craig trains out of this gym. I just wanted to get your reaction to their fight.
Yeah, it was good. Me and Tony watched it back this morning. I was on the running machine. It was at the fight. I scored it a little bit different when I was at the fight than now. I was looking at the fight and I was just thinking the work that Josh was putting in early on. Like I said, I wasn't scoring it, but I was looking at it and thinking the work that Josh was doing in the early rounds, close up and working in bursts, won him the early rounds. There was a couple of rounds I was close, and I thought Spider nicked a couple in the early rounds, and then I think it was the 8th or 9th round, Spider started to come back into it. And then there was a couple of rounds I was close, but yeah, it went how I expected it to. It just ignited from the start. Don't get me wrong, I'm friends with both of them and they're good mates of mine, both of them, and I was just happy both of them came out safe. But there had to be one winner and one loser, but whoever won will go on to do big things, and whoever lost will eventually go on to do big things. It's just a little bump in the road. They have to take a little step back and think of what avenue to go down now. But yeah, it is what it is. It was good for British boxing. It was good for their careers, and they made a nice few quid out of it. So yeah, it's just one of the things. That'd be a winner and that'd be a loser. They're both those guys, man.
And final one, Joe. During the night of your fight next week, you've got I don't know if it's during the night. The time difference will be weird to work out. But Devin Haney and George Kambosos out in Australia. Just your take. What do you think will happen?
Obviously, George beat Teofimo Lopez. That was a good fight, but I think Teofimo got them tactics very wrong on the night. So I think he'll have all the confidence in the world in himself and the belief that he can take Devin Haney out. But I just think Devin Haney's too big, too strong, and too clever to be doing what Teofimo done. I think Devin Haney wins.
Right, Joe, we'll leave that there now. I'll leave you to enjoy the rest of your day and obviously get stuck into your training session. But that's final push. Good luck ahead of next Saturday. I'm sure I will see you in Cardiff. So thanks, Beats Me, Social.
Yeah, thank you, brother. Cheers.
I don't know what. Yeah. Cheers, mate.